It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Now batting for Drew McIntyre, Braun Breaker. That's what happens at house shows, guys. We've been watching that going back to the 80s. That's what they do. It's about entertaining the fans. Yeah, I know. It does make it look corny, absolutely. But just figured I'd share with all of you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to your latest edition of The Sit Down. I am Don Tony. Today is October 13, 2024. I should know because tomorrow's my bro's birthday. If I got that wrong, there'd be a problem. So I hope everyone is having a good weekend. I am here to discuss from now until 9:30. We're going to finish this a little early tonight because I got a couple of things I got to do. Want to see what happens with the Mets. Don't want to jinx the Mets all that much, but hey, I've been a fan of the Mets ever since Reggie Jackson left New York to go to California in 1982. And to the gentleman who said earlier that every team except for Arizona that has beaten the Brewers in the playoffs have gone on to win the World Series, that's actually not true. 1981, when the Brewers were still in the American League, they lost to the Yankees, and the Yankees lost to the Dodgers. I remember that series very, very well. There's been others as well, but since the National League, I know what you're talking about. And you know what? Since everybody that is a New Yorker that is into the Mets right now, I have some Mets memorabilia. I know a lot of you are aware of it, but I was trying to find something pretty unique that I think you get all good laugh about. If any of you are baseball fans in general, you know about Bobby Bonilla Day, right? Bobby Bonilla Day, like every year since the 90s, he gets like $1 million from the Mets. I think it ends next year. No joke. Out of all of the jerseys that I have sold in my lifetime, and for those that don't know, I used to have a jersey collection bigger than John Cena ever had. I had almost every Mets player from the 86 team. I had vintage jerseys from so many different teams. And I wanted my black Lincoln Mark 7 so bad that I sold my entire jersey collection. I sold my autographs. I sold the letter that President Clinton wrote to me personally. I sold everything except for a few to get my car. And this was one of the things that I kept. This may look like an ordinary Mets spring training jersey, but this is legit. This is Bobby Bonilla's spring training jersey from the early 90s. And it's even got the original tags on it. And inside it actually says Bonilla in there. So I used to wear this once in a while. I always kept it for some reason. You know why I think I kept it? Because it fit me. You know, a lot of the jerseys that I had because I was having a collection, I didn't care what size they were. One of my favorite players growing up very young as a kid was Mark the Bird Fidrick. And I got an authentic Mark Fidrick jersey from 1977. And my God, the guy was like an Ethiopian. I mean, he was just skinny as fuck. And, you know, I couldn't even put it around my arm. It was so small, but I ended up selling it. So here's another thing. A few of you asked me, so I was not going to forget. Last week I was telling you about a bunch of things that Daphne, God rest her soul, when we were friends over the years, she sent me a whole bunch of like little odds and ends from WCW days that, she really thought I would enjoy or get a kick out of. I mentioned last week that she gave me a poster, and I said Australia, but I got the country wrong. It was Germany. The Germany tour, I think, is the tour where Juventud Guerrera was in a shopping cart, zooted out of his mind. I think he got into legal trouble, if anybody remembers that story. I'm pretty sure it was the tour of Germany. She actually got this while she was in Germany. This is a WCW poster from Germany from the year, I think, 2000. And it's pretty fucking massive. So it is from WCW 2000. I don't know if you could see that. But you know what's cool about it, too? If you look on the back, it shows all the items that they had for sale at that time. It's crazy. I mean, I got to scan this thing and put screenshots online because I dropped my mouse. Shit. I've checked online and I can't, nobody ever posted this. I mean, I don't know how many fans they have from Germany, but yeah, it was just, that was what I was talking about last week for those that were interested. So shout out to everybody who is live. Shout out to everybody on the archive. Much love as always. Happy 3-year, 7-month anniversary to Austin Nance. He is not only one of our great moderators along with OTS Tribal Queen and Guardian of Chaos, but he is a member of the family. And shout out to Jeff R., who became a channel member over the last 7 days. So much love to all of you out there. And if you're not aware of it already, a little cheap plug once again, the 20-year anniversary shirt is finally released for Kev and I. If you want to celebrate 20 years of our shows and support what we do as well, there you go. It's available on our Pro Wrestling Tees store, and it's also available in Spring. Spring you could get usually here on YouTube. It is, I made a tiny URL link. I think it's DTKC merch, but Pro Wrestling Tees, yeah, I want to start getting going because as of now, over the last 7 days, to the 177 of you over the last couple of months that said, oh, you released that shirt, I'm getting one. We've had a total of 3 sales. I kid you not. Spring, we've had a few more, but Pro Wrestling Tees, 3. So I'll tell you what's interesting about that. Pro Wrestling Tees probably does not sell many shirts outside of AEW. Because if you look at the hot releases right now, like the biggest selling shirts, if you go to like page 3, our shirt is there. And I'm like, how are we on page 3 if we've only sold a total of 3 shirts? Then you look at some of the other wrestlers that are right around us, and I'm like, I feel bad for those motherfuckers because they're not selling any shirts at all. So, but I'm here. Let's talk wrestling. We're going to go until 9:30, so I don't want to, really beat around the bush. I will say one thing before we go any further. I did watch a little bit of Wrestle Dream this afternoon. After I did the Daily News Update, the Weekend Report, I started watching some of it. I started from the end. I watched the Bryan Danielson, John Moxley match. I saw what transpired after. I saw somebody sent a super chat right before we went live about it. I'll tell you this. I kind of touched on this in a Weekend Report, but now after seeing with my own eyes and seeing how they ended the show, Bryan Danielson, it's no secret, has been wrestling without a contract. His contract was up before I even think before Grand Slam, the last pay-per-view. Was it All Out? What was the last pay-per-view before this one? I think it was All Out, right? When he won the championship? He wasn't under contract, or his contract was just finishing. And you might remember that there was rumors that he was going to sign like a 3-month extension. Well, we found out, thank you, One Fall, it is All Out. He never signed that extension. So technically, as of right now, he is a free agent. He could legitimately show up on Raw tomorrow if he wanted to. He's not. I'm not going to make no thumbnail. Bryan Danielson on Raw. I wouldn't do that to you guys. But he's free to do whatever he wants. I I personally think, in hindsight, I truly believed he was going to keep that title till World's End and then lose it to Darby Allin. Now, thinking of the idea that Darby Allin will beat Jon Moxley at World's End for that title, I think I kind of like it a little bit better. Bryan Danielson has no business being in a ring right now. I don't care how great he seemed Saturday night at Wrestle Dream. When you do interviews and you say, I can't feel my legs, I can't feel my arms, my neck, my back, my pussy, and my crack. When you can't feel body parts, there ain't no fucking doctor that's supposed to clear you. You know, what happened to your blood pressure is elevated a little bit. You can't wrestle tonight. You got 101 temperature before the COVID saga. You can't wrestle tonight. This motherfucker's like, look, I can't feel my arms. They're just moving around. I can't feel my legs. I got this tingling in my neck. Everything hurts. I can't even see it. Oh, don't worry about it. It's only one match. It's only one match. Come on, you go out in a blaze of glory. I mean, are we going to just be selfish wrestling fans 24/7, 365? Are we going to turn around and show little balls and say, the fuck is this guy wrestling? How is he cleared? You know, I'm sorry. The same doctor, the beloved Dr. Sampson, the same beloved doctor that clears this guy. And let me tell you something. Brother. It's not just the AEW doctors that are clearing him. It's the state athletic commissions. You know, that's the thing that gets me is how is the state athletic commissions allowing it? Because I was there witnessing how hardcore these athletic commission people can be. If they truly want to hold somebody back, I'm sure people probably could get paid under the table. But my God, why are we for just to enjoy a wrestling show, are we risking Bryan Danielson, you know, to be crippled in a wheelchair? Well, it was Bryan's guys, you know, it's on me. I love wrestling and I should have stopped, but I just love wrestling that much. What are you, stupid? Seriously. I'm glad he got through this match without injury. I'm glad that he dropped that title and is not going to wrestle for the foreseeable future. I'm glad that they did it the way they did. But if we're going to really be honest for a minute, that guy has no business being in a ring right now. And you best damn believe if this was WWE, WWE would have said, you ain't wrestling. You might be able to work the indies. You might be able to work somewhere else, but you ain't working for us. We ain't taking a chance. Could you imagine how WWE would have been vilified if that was Bryan Danielson wrestling for them and then he takes a bump and the guy can't even fucking stand up? I don't know, man. I just see a lot of stupidity online, masqueraded as journalists, podcasters, and, you know, wrestling fans somewhat selfish. I really can't blame wrestling fans all that much. Oh, rub a little mud on it. The pain will go away. You know, I'm a little surprised that AEW allowed him to do interviews that said, yeah, I fought Okada. I couldn't feel anything in my legs. I couldn't even put strength behind it. You know, my God, you could have crippled Okada. You pick him up and then your legs give out and you drop him on his head. Thank God it didn't happen. Well, Okada was a willing participant. What, are you stupid? You know, if there's a frozen lake and the ice is only 3 inches thick and a little kid goes across the ice and there's no problem. Hey, you know, I want to go through the ice. Can we play ice hockey? Come on, Dad. Can we coach ice hockey? And then you go in the fucking thing and you crack through. You know, stupid. This is my honest opinion. So let's see what some of you thought about it. Let's see. Somebody had a super chat earlier about Bryan Danielson. Now I don't see it. It says deleted. Who was this? Michael. Michael says, oh, I can't. It's deleted. Yeah. Well, from what I read, what you said earlier, you said you didn't like the finish. of the Danielson-Moxley match. You didn't like the EMT. Storyline. It's storyline. You know, not every finish of somebody that we love is going to go out the Sting route. Can't have cake and ice cream on the way out. Not every movie has a beautiful ending. You know, Jon Moxley will wrestle again. Hey, Bryan Danielson will wrestle again. You know, we don't know when, but he will wrestle again. Right now, he's escaped this. Let him go get his surgery. Let him go get his surgery. That's really all I could say about that. So, all right. Before we get into a couple of more super shout outs, let's head on over to the chat room for a little bit. Curator Vibration says, it's true Daniel Bryan low-key has a death wish, just like Darby's weird ass. I got news for you. I've warmed up on Darby Allin over the last year and a half, 2 years. He has really cut down a lot of the stupid shit that outside of AEW. And I think he has fought a much more careful match inside the ring. Sure, he still does crazy bumps. I mean, listen, I watched Rey Mysterio Jr. matches in 1995 where he fucking flipped into the crowd. RVD doing tumble salts, you know, doing a somersault into the crowd. You know, there's some wrestlers, there was some crazy shit. I mean, people escaped injury. If we're going to criticize Darby Allin, then we got to criticize some of the ones that we loved growing up as well. I've kind of softened up on Darby Allin a little bit. But Bryan Danielson, you know, again, you just look at those injuries and there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Oh, just one more match. No. That's what's called wellness. It's called wellness, not selfishness. It's not the selfishness program. You know, I know AEW is kind of like, you know, summer camp. You know, that's why some people kind of like it there a little bit more. They're free to do what they want. It's almost like you die and go to wrestling heaven. You die and you go to heaven. Hey, my arms don't hurt anymore. Hey, I could run around. I don't need this fucking wheelchair anymore. Get the fuck out of here. You know, oh my God, look, I don't have any chins anymore. I used to have more chins in a Chinese restaurant. Oh, look at this. I could see my toes again. You know, you go to heaven, everything is great again. Wrestling, hey, you leave some other companies. I go to wrestling heaven. I go to AEW. Can I do this dive? Sure. Just be careful. Oh, and sign this waiver. So if you do get crippled, it's not our responsibility. And sign this NDA as well. You know, it's too risky, man. It's too risky. I love when I hear some of those legends out there. Oh, AEW, somebody's going to die sooner or later. You know, people were talking like this 3-4 years ago. Thank God 3-4 years later, that has not happened. I don't even want to think of something like that. But I did laugh at Dave Meltzer yesterday coming up with this. And I thought he was being sarcastic at first until I heard the clip. He's got this, and he even said, he goes, I got this new idea. AEW should book venues that only seat about 3,000 fans. I mean, this was something that we said like 19 months ago. We were comparing it to TNA and when Bully Ray used to feud with me and Kev, when they would book stadiums that sat 6,000 and he drew 137. And we actually even numbered every fan that was in attendance and showed everybody. This is the new idea. Oh my God, people are fucking dumb. People are fucking dumb. Even that stuff with The Rock. The Rock is not going to appear at WrestleMania 41 as of now. Oh my God. Why do people keep investing in why are you enjoy getting ripped off? I mean, I get it. There's some people that, you know, like to get stepped on or peed on or shitted on, you know, in intimacy. It is not a Vince McMahon joke. Go on Porn XS, you'll see what I'm talking about. Some people like, you know, to be dominated. But, I mean, why do people like to be ripped off from people that are literally just saying shit to take your money? And The Rock, thank God, after we did the news update earlier, I saw that The Rock responded and said, don't listen to that bullshit that Meltzer's putting out there. I'm getting mad now because I still have a little bit of respect for Dave Meltzer. But he fucking writes 2 days ago, oh, as of now, The Rock is not going to appear at WrestleMania 41. Then The Rock calls him out on it and says, you're full of shit. And you know what he says? He says, you know what? things could have changed since Thursday. Let me check this isn't fucking February where we want Cody and the story changes 3 days later. This is October. Oh, maybe something changed over the weekend. Dave, how's about your source be Dwayne Johnson? Instead of saying, let me go check my source, go to the fucking people. And if they don't want to answer you, then you say, I reached out to Dwayne Johnson directly for comment, clarification, verification, and received no reply. At least does anybody go to the source anymore? No. You know why they don't go to the source? Because think of it like this. Dave Meltzer got a whole bunch of headlines because he said Thunder Rosa was cleared to return. And Thunder Rosa's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not cleared. So he reports it, gets 1,000 bullshit websites to repost it, and now his name is everywhere. So now he writes, The Rock, as of now, is not going to be at WrestleMania 41. 1,000 websites, and look, for my channel members on YouTube, look at the screenshots of all the wrestling news sites that ran with it. And then, after being told wrong, they still don't go to the original source. You know why they don't do that? Because if Dave Meltzer or others would have went to Thunder Rosa originally and said, Thunder Rosa, are you cleared? No, I'm not. Fuck. Now I can't report it. Dwayne, my source is telling me you're not going to be at WrestleMania 41, that your schedule's too hectic. I don't want to report the wrong thing. Is that true that as of now you're off WrestleMania 41? The final boss says, you're full of shit. Whoever your source is, get a new source. The final boss has spoken. Fuck. Now I can't report it. That's why they don't go to the original sources. That's why they don't go to the original sources. The original source, like Wade Keller. Oh, my source that I've depended on over the years have given me accurate ratings. Oh, look at these other places. Look, the quarter-hour breakdowns for all AEW and NXT. But make sure you credit us if you use our quarter-hour breakdowns. Oh, sir, who are you crediting that you got it from? Well, we don't credit anybody because we got it ourselves. Where did you get it? Did you plant some seeds in the ground and it generated quarter-hour ratings? Who did you get it from? You don't work for Nielsen. You don't work in the TV cable news industry. Where, sir, did you get those numbers from? You want us to credit you, but who are you crediting? Sir, that's none of your business. Seriously, here, that's what I say to that. Stupid. Stupid, 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 stupid. What is not stupid is, Police Squad. Thank you for the 5-spot Police Squad. Rico! Shout out to Rico Constantino, man. Rico is a friend of the DTKC family. He showed up at AEW Wrestle Dream in one of the dark matches yesterday, managing Mason Mansoor. Put a smile on my face. It really did. For those that don't know, about 7-8 years ago, Rico got very sick. And he actually reached out to us and, he told us, he's like, listen, I'm just really sick right now. I think he might, I don't know if he had might have been GoFundMe at the time, but he had some stuff going on. And we sent him, I don't remember, I think Mish, myself, and Kev sent him like a fruit basket, and we sent a couple of bucks as well. And, he was a supporter of our shows too. Plus he was in law enforcement. So I've always had a little bit of, appreciation for Rico. I'm still kind of pissed off at that match. Didn't he defeat Ric Flair one time? Could never get past that. But to see him back, look, I don't think he's going to really do anything physical. But, just to see him looking good. I mean, he's aged, obviously. But the fact that he looks healthy is pretty damn cool, because 7-8 years ago, it did not look good for Rico, man. I'm sure there's old articles still online. So when I saw that, I was like, that's cool. That's cool. So, all right, who's next? Police Squad also said in a 5-spot, let's go Mets. Absolutely, man. I don't want to jinx it, but my God, the Mets have been insane. A few people that are younger fans out there have asked me the last couple of days, Like, was it like this in '86? I'll be, it's something that I've thought about. And, when you're on Twitter and you DM and you can't really spend a whole lot of time talking about it. But I will tell you this, I do remember '86 well. And I have still my newspaper collection at the time, I have all the games. What I do remember from the '86 playoffs is, they had moments. They had moments. Dykstra hitting a home run against the Astros at Shea Stadium. I think it was game 2 or game 3 of the NLCS. And then you had game 6 of the NLCS against the Astros, where they came back from being 2 or 3 runs down in the 9th, and they tied it up. And then obviously game 6 against the Red Sox in the World Series. I mean, that is the craziest comeback I've ever seen in my life. I still, to this day, one day I will get my hands on it. There's video footage somewhere. I remember it. This wasn't like thinking that Sinbad was in some movie. You ever hear that urban legend that Sinbad was in some type of like a movie? And we all swear we remember seeing the coming attractions of, and it's not true. I remember clearly watching a TV broadcast, and they had on the Shea Stadium, the Jumbotron, congratulations, Boston Red Sox winning the World Series. And this was before the third out. I think it was like, I don't remember who got the first hit. Wasn't Kevin Mitchell, but I think it might have been Kevin Mitchell. Ray Knight definitely wasn't Ray Knight. I think it was Kevin Mitchell that got the first hit. But I remember Shazam. Yes, that's what it was. Shazam. If you don't know the story about Sinbad and Shazam, look online. It's fucking funny because I swear to God, I remember I could swear I remember seeing a coming attraction. But no, we never did. We never did. But the '86 Mets, it didn't have this many comebacks. The playoffs so far for the Mets have been crazy. However, I'm kind of fearing that crazy magic, I don't think is going to happen in the NLCS. They may still beat the Dodgers. They absolutely may still beat the Dodgers. In fact, I know Ohtani is a 50-50 guy, but if the Mets are up a whole bunch of runs, I would consider really working around Ohtani, give him the Barry Bonds treatment from that time. To quote Don West, Barry Bonds, Barry Bonds. Outside of Ohtani, the Dodgers don't scare me that much. I think the Mets either dominate really well or they lose. I don't see a lot of this crazy comebacks. So, okay. Steve Joseph, did I watch the movie Iron Claw yet? No, I have not. I've watched pieces of it online, and it looks okay. The problem is, and I've seen enough reviews. Kev told me about the movie as well. I've watched documentary after documentary after documentary about the Von Erich family. Going back to a current affair, documentaries been on YouTube, the dark side shit. I've seen so many documentaries over the years, and this movie waters down, sensationalizes, edits, leaves out important aspects of the film because they want to dramatize it so it's enticing and appealing to non-wrestling fans. And the reason why I haven't watched it is because every documentary I've seen about the Von Erichs has been pretty on point. I don't want to see this movie and then shit all over it saying, this was not as accurate as people think it is. I don't care about the Ric Flair actor that looks like a goof. I don't care about, that's not what the movie is about. But I have no interest in seeing a movie that kind of distorts history because they want to make this movie appealing to non-wrestling fans. Not really interested in seeing that. But I will say this, if I was not a wrestling fan, I probably would have enjoyed that movie more because the movie is solid. I mean, one cool thing about those actors, they really put a lot of work into it. I mean, that's one cool thing about it. I mean, let me put it like this. When the earliest criticism was for the Ric Flair guy, that's when you knew that the other actors did a pretty good job. By the way, I don't do coke. The only reason why I'm doing this is because I had a little bit of an allergic reaction to something yesterday. So if you see me doing this, that's why. Believe me. I don't get super chatted enough that I could buy lines. So no worries, everybody. No worries. So I have not seen it. I eventually will, but not as of yet. Tyrese Mariano. Is it possible to recreate ECW and the vibe it had in the 90s? You couldn't create the hardcore again because at that time, FMW was insane with the explosion stuff. All Japan wing promotion. Like when we would see footage from Japan, it was like, that's fucking crazy. And I know ECW wanted to do that a little bit, but unfortunately they really couldn't. Like they did flaming tables and they were going to do something with FMW, but it never worked out with Onita. They met once or twice. I think ECW went to Japan, but they didn't really do what they wanted to do. The thing is, and this is why you can't recreate it. AEW could try, NXT could try, and I'm not talking about hardcore. I'm just talking about the fans and the dedication. The thing that made ECW so different, and that's why I will always continue to pay tribute to ECW. The one thing that there's a couple of things that ECW had, but outside of individual wrestlers and outside of the style, the two very important things about ECW is that whether you performed in front of 200 fans or 2,000 fans, those wrestlers gave 110%. Didn't matter how small the crowd was or how big the crowd was, every wrestler worked their ass off. I went to older ECW events in 94, and they were kind of shitty. They weren't anywhere near what they became starting in 1995. But the wrestlers made sure that everybody in that building had a great time. Now, also, you got to understand, at that time, Girls Gone Wild, Jerry Springer, the MMA, the Ultimate Fighting, like there was a lot of changes in the world. Plus, we had just gone through Bill Clinton and the scandal with that girl. The hell was her name? I almost said Pamela Anderson. Who's the girl that, with the skirt, the dress, the brunette? I can't remember her name right now. Thank God I can't remember her name. Someone in the chat will remind me. What was her name again? There's like a 3-second delay. So Monica Lewinsky. Thank you, Kevin. There was plus the internet was new. There was a lot of, changes in the world, and there was a lot of over the top. You had, the ultimate violence. You had the Girls Gone Wild. You had, Jerry Springer. Plus, you had the internet that was just branching out where now wrestling fans across the world could all communicate with each other, whether it was Prodigy chats or Instant Messenger or later on MySpace about 10 years later. So the one thing that ECW had was it was renegades. It was going against the typical, stuff. Like you had the Cosby Show. You had Family Ties. You had, like in the 80s, that's what it was. So it's like all nice, cartoony, feel good families. We got this beautiful white family. You got this beautiful black family. You got this beautiful mixed family. Look, you got a former football player and his wife and a little kid named Webster. You got Punky Brewster and all this, happy stuff. Then the 90s. You had the 90s and you have all the crazy shit. And it was like, okay, renegades. The land of the misfit toys. That's what it was. Sandman was a surfer. Then he became a cigarette smoker and drinking beer and looking like a slob. There was so many different things. So it felt like all right, for everyone who doesn't fit in, fits in here. And I've always told this story, and I'm sorry if it bores people, but the first time I ever went to ECW was 1994, and me and my friends came in there, and we were introduced to a couple of people, and we were a little nervous because we were going into Philadelphia, and Philadelphia and New York had crazy rivalries going from basketball to baseball. And keep in mind, there was a big rivalry with the Phillies and the Mets at the time because the Mets traded Lenny Dykstra and Roger McDowell to the Phillies for, what the fuck was his name? Someone in the chat's got to bail me out again. It's late. Oh, my God. Number 6. He was a second baseman, center fielder. Who did they trade Lenny? Oh, my God. It's right on the tip of my tongue. He was number 6. Shit. Ron Samuel, franchise. Thank you for bailing me out. And that guy was a jerk off. And you want to know what's even funnier? I've told this once or twice in the 20 some odd years of doing this. I remember where I was and what I was doing when they announced that trade. I was at a barbecue in Long Island with a bunch of friends, and then we heard about the trade, and we're like, what the fuck was this? Because Lenny Dykstra and Roger McDowell were very beloved in New York. Of course, we didn't know the extent of Lenny Dykstra's problems at the time. But when they got traded, there was a heated rivalry, and it just amped up a notch. And I think the last game of the 90 season or 92 season, I don't remember which year it was. You know what? I think it was 1990. I think it was 1990. The last game of the season, Greg Jeffries, and by the way, I have his jersey in my closet right here. I swear to God, I can't take it out right now. But he made the final out, and he started brawling with Roger McDowell at Shea Stadium. So there was a heated rivalry with Philadelphia and New York. And when we walked into the ECW arena and we were introduced to a couple of people from there, hey, these are my friends from New York. We were kind of like a little nervous, getting, joked on and, whatever. Everybody was friendly. And I've always used this scenario. It was like, here's the pool, jump in, the water's warm. I mean, it smelled like death. It smelled like armpits. You'd be lucky if you saw any, remotely chance of a vagina. It was 95% men. And it was interesting because you rarely saw any kids there. Very, 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 very few children. Almost never did you see children. And the funny thing is, I saw more, this is true, and I'm sure someone out there is going to back me up on this. I saw more kids at CZW events than I saw at ECW events. I can't explain it. But the thing is, you can't recreate that renegade aspect of it. You could have Tony Khan say it until he's blue in the face. WWE's the enemy. They're Harvey Weinstein. They're the P. Diddy. They're the O.J. Simpson. They're this. They're devil. They're this. They're this. Doesn't make him a devil. When you see everybody acting professional, and then you look at the roster, and then you look at everything going on, like, Tony, who exactly are you talking about? The WWE is not a person. Doesn't have testicles, doesn't have a vagina. It's not a he, they, them, it. It's not a person. Who are you talking about when you say that? It's like, and even Janelle Grant's lawyers, I haven't really touched on this. Janelle Grant's lawyers are fucking up big time right now. I don't care how much, some wrestling websites are oohing and ahhing over it and giving them fawn jobs. Why don't you massage their feet while you're at it? She's trying to tell WWE, do the right thing and release all the NDAs. Motherfucker, it is under new ownership. It is under new ownership. If I buy a company that was owned by somebody else, and I keep some of the employees, but some of the bad apples are not on my watch. Oh, but one in 1991 did this, and this, and he agreed to an NDA. Why don't you release? Because it wasn't my fucking company at the time, you moron. I'm seeing people fawning. I'm like, why don't you give them like massage their temples and do their nails and give them a manicure and feed them grapes. You got all these people saying this stuff online. I'm sitting back and I'm like, it wasn't even the same fucking ownership at the time. What are they talking about? So you can't recreate that renegade aspect of ECW. And not only that, you can't recreate that unity. You can't force that unity. And I got news for you also, and I'll go there. ECW, didn't matter if you were white, black. Sorry for some people who get mad when I say this, whether you're black or gay. DT, could you stop putting black and gay in the same sentence? It's not the same thing. Oh, yeah, it is the same thing. You're supposed to treat everybody with respect. Whether it's a black guy that likes a black guy or a black guy that likes a black girl or a white girl that likes a white guy or a white girl like this, you're supposed to treat everybody with respect. I don't favor. I see people like, you want favoritism? Why? Why do you want favoritism? Because it makes you feel good. You want a shout out. You want to no, everybody gets treated equally. Sorry if you don't like that. That's what happened with ECW. Everybody was treated equally. Didn't matter who the fuck you were. Didn't matter if you showed up with crutches. It didn't matter if you came in there and your sister was your mother and your mother was married to her uncle and her uncle happened to be the stepson of someone else's daughter in the family who happened to sleep with the brother and he's got 19 toes and he's in the ECW. Nobody made fun of anybody there. Didn't matter if you were 500 pounds or if you were 40 pounds. Everybody got along there. Everybody got along. Oh, no, T. Kimmel, yes. If people are not getting paid equally because they're black, it's fucked up. In 2024, that is fucked up. Seriously, there's no excuse for that. But, people got to also understand where they are on the food chain for a wrestling company. If you want to talk about, let's see. All right. Who was Who was in Hit Row with Swerve that's now in NXT with Cedric Alexander? Isaiah Swerve Scott. Sorry, Isaiah Swerve Scott's not going to get paid the same as Montez Ford. You got to know where you are on the food chain. Doesn't matter what color you are, but if someone is a bona fide main eventer, like you heard stories that Kamala, would get paid. I'm not talking about the vice president. I'm talking about the wrestler. You heard stories about Kamala getting paid shit. And, his opponents would get paid 5 times the amount of money. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. But I also feel like if everybody truly wants one day that everybody is, paid unbiased and everybody is treated unbiased, and you got to stop acting biased. I keep politics off the shows a lot, but I got to admit, when I saw Barack Obama the other day saying to my black brothers, how do you not vote for Kamala? And I'm like, oh my God, that is like isn't that exactly what you don't do? That you're telling someone to vote for somebody of color because you're the same color? Just change Kamala and put Trump and change black to white. You must vote for Trump because you're white. They'll get taken down on the street. How do you do that? How is that acceptable? If people truly want everybody to be treated equally, then you have to stop insisting on bias. That's just my take on it. Okie dokie. Curated. I like Lance Archer. He is getting fucked over in AEW from my perspective. Fair to say Tony Khan just doesn't like or know how to use big wrestlers. Listen, I am one of Lance Archer's biggest fans in AEW. I've been saying this for over 3 years now. When he started, I swear to God, my shows will back it up. When he started getting wins about 3 months ago, And people are like, oh, Lance is finally getting an opportunity. I'm like, no, he's not. He's going to ultimately face like a Bryan Danielson or an Osprey or somebody. They're making him seem unstoppable. So when the babyface beats him, it's like, oh, that's a substantial win. Lance Archer wants to be paid, is getting paid, and he is one of the most misused motherfuckers in AEW. He is one of the misused, and I'm sorry, as much as of a fan of I am of Lance Archer, we joked when we heard about the Rampage tapings. Whenever, here's a telltale sign. When you advertise for an upcoming AEW event and you do not list Lance Archer's opponent, you know it is going to be some bullshit squash match. They've been doing that for 3+ years. It is rinse and repeat. It is the same fucking cycle. It is Groundhog Day. It is Groundhog Day. It is the same cycle. Lance Archer beats Jobber, beats up more jobbers in the back, beats Jobber, calls out high-profile guy, beats more jobbers, calls out high-profile guy, beats jobbers, gets Dynamite, gets another Dynamite, gets 3 straight Dynamites, gets fans to say, oh my God, Lance Archer's finally getting a push, gets beat from Will Ospreay. Lance Archer, 2 weeks off TV, 3 weeks off TV. Fans start talking. Oh, Lance Archer, we must get his name back there. Beats Jobber, beats up people. Oh, look, the managers traded each other. History. Beats Jobber, calls out random person. He does this, beats another Jobber, wrestles high-profile match, loses. Jobber. That's what they've done for Lance Archer for 3 years. But he's getting paid. That's all I care. If he's getting paid good and he's paying his bills, taking care of his family, fine. But if we're going to be honest, Lance Archer, you imagine if Lance Archer was Hobbs? Hobbs is been treated almost as bad. Hobbs is going to come back. The Hurt Business, the Hurt Syndicate. The problem is MVP, Cedric, Shelton, whatever you want to call it, they're not the creative team. So MVP could come out there, player. We want Hobbs. He's in the Hurt ticket. Look, oh my God, look at Hobbs and Lashley. Oh my God, the unstoppable force. Yeah, unfortunately, unstoppable force are behind the desk in the back. That if you go, boo, I feared for my life. You know, the fans want to convince themselves that changes are in order. Thank you, Mr. Curated. All right. Mark Hicks with a question. How long did it take for me to get used to the WWF changing their name to the WWE in 2002? A little bit. Oh my God. It can't be 9:30 already. No, it's only 8:30. It's 8:54. Okay. I almost thought it said 9:30. I'm like, can't be. We still got 40 minutes. I called it the WWF probably until 2003, maybe 2004. I mean, we used to mock it. Some of you may remember the infamous Photoshops where we Photoshopped Steve Austin giving a stunner to a panda because we hated the World Wildlife Fund at the time. You know, honestly, if somebody said to me right now, DT, you could have the power right now to change it back to the WWF, would you do it? My answer would be no. Because to me, I now feel like the world wrestling, this is how I look at it. Being a wrestling fan since 79, this is how I look at it. The WWF was before my time. The WWF was the superhero 80s and the cartoon era 90s. The WWE is where it started branching into this global sports entertainment, family, somewhat family friendly, but a more acceptable product that could be branch out. It could branch out. I mean, yes, we had the rock and wrestling connection in the 80s and, but even the Attitude Era, yeah, you paid Mike Tyson to get involved and you would have a random person here and there, but anybody outside of wrestling did not support pro wrestling. Now pro wrestling is showing up in all different aspects of the spectrum in entertainment and sports, basketball, baseball, world championships everywhere, movies, TVs, whatever. It's accepted as a part of pop culture. So I look at WWE as the change where WWE truly expanded globally, not just to global wrestling fans, but globally outside of wrestling. And that could be a double-edged sword when you see some people getting involved in wrestling that have no business, but it's more acceptable. And with that, gets more revenue and more stability. And thank God, TKO is still giving a lot of pressure to WWE with their finances, because under the Vince regime, they became very complacent. As long as Vince made $1, he was getting his knob wet, he was fine. What are we going to do this week? Do those Usos in a New Day again? It was just, you look back, and I will even admit it, Vince got very, very complacent. TKO Group Holdings, different animal, different kind of pressure. That's why you see so many people stepping up their A game. Very, very few people express disgruntledness. See, Tegan Knox thinks Vince is still in charge. Tegan Knox thinks she could go on social media and say, I can't believe I can't even get on a show with tattoos. Tattoo your ass out of here. Go to Fantasy Island. Hey, tattoo. Go to Fantasy Island. There's someone, Mr. Rock. He's got an afro now, Mr. Rock. He's got an afro, and he likes to smoke weed. But, she learned. Natty, she turned it into a storyline. Good for you, Natty. So that's why Natty is back, and Tegan Knox, we'll see what happens. She might get another opportunity. But the people that think, I'm going to go on social media and get this big crusade. Nope. Am I wrong, honestly? I'm not trying to be harsh on Tegan Knox. I like her. She's very, very talented, and I'm glad that she's still injury-free. You worry because of some of those knee injuries that she had. But, this day and age, you're going to rock that boat even a little bit. Goodbye. We don't need you. We have so many bullets in the chamber right now. We don't need you. Seriously. Fuck do we need you for? Ralph Ramirez is asking, how soon does Sonny come out with a Vince story? She will try, and there'll be someone out there willing to listen. But most people will be like, man, shut the fuck up. That's the truth. She will claim something somewhere. I'm a little surprised she hasn't tried to throw a whole bunch of people in the WWE right now under the bus. There's some things that she could put out there that she hasn't. I just, it's a shame what happened to her. It is a real shame. When she was clean and sober, she was actually a pretty cool person. I didn't get to know her that well, but I got to know her well enough that I got Christmas cards from her. I still got a few, but it's a shame. It's a shame. If she comes out with something, somebody somewhere will cover it, but most people will just ignore it. They'd be like, you know what? In a perfect world, she could poop on Vince's head. It's a shame. It's a shame. Nixie says, speaking of Tegan Knox, shout out to Dijak. You know what? I think Dijak is kind of realized now that, hey, I'm not getting the opportunities I thought I was going to get. I think Dijak has mellowed out a little bit. Listen, I even think Jinder Mahal has mellowed out a little bit. I think some people realize, with all due respect, in 2024, some people been there, done that. Now it's time to step aside and let someone else get that opportunity. And, I don't know if some of you saw it, but the $1 Million Arm has got the $5 mouth. Did you see what what's his face said? In this year, oh my God, I'm batting 1,000 tonight with did I take my Prevagen today? Veer Mahan. Did you see what he wrote a couple of weeks ago? I didn't even talk about it. He brought up that there's only one person representing the country of India right now in the WWE. Almost like that Indus should have remained on the roster because they were Indian. That motherfucker ain't coming back. And not only that, I like Veer Mahan. I think his story going back to the Pirates is an awesome one. But if I'm Veer Mahan, here's a challenge for you. Why don't you go tell the great Khali to step up his A game, and how's about developing some talented Indian wrestlers that maybe can make a difference in the WWE? You know, you don't have many Indian wrestlers really trying to work the indies and getting noticed and, you know, doing stuff in it. I mean, what are you going to do? Can't just shit out a certain perfect type of wrestler. Imagine somebody wanting to be part of a company simply because they're Indian, or simply because they're a woman, or simply because they're from Australia, or simply because they're from this. That's cheap. That's cheap. And I think, you know, people like that, those are the people like you don't want in a company. Roger Rubio, thank you very much, my friend. Sent over a cup of Java for yours truly. I will definitely be having one tomorrow. I have to work tomorrow, even though it's Columbus Day. Columbus discovered America, and I still have to work tomorrow. Still have to work tomorrow. All right. Senor Vibrations sent in a 5-spot. What was the vibe when Cyndi Lauper got involved with the WWF? Watching it back, it seemed like a super hot angle with Captain Lou Albano and the company. This is legit. This is legit. This is me living through it. Not saying it bragging, but you could trust me. You could replay this to Kev, replay it to anybody around my age from that time, especially who lived in the Northeast. When we found out Captain Lou Albano was going to be in the music video, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, as wrestling fans, we marked out. We thought it was the coolest thing. And then we find out that Cyndi Lauper is a big WWF fan. And we liked her even more. And then she came out with the music video for the Goonies, Good Enough. And I'll never forget it. You got Nikolai Volkov sitting in the back of some fucking pickup truck, and he's milking a ceramic cow. He's literally going like this, and it's a ceramic cow. And Roddy Piper's in it, and Cyndi Lauper's mother, Katrine. Oh, no, that's what Roddy Piper used to call her. Katrine Dominique. Wrestling fans loved her. Wrestling fans thought she was so cool. We didn't like her manager. Who's that scrawny manager with the beard? I almost said David Hasselhoff. It was a similar name. We hated his manager. He was a prick. And when Captain Lou accepted the award for, I think it was multiple sclerosis, I think it was, and he was in Madison Square Garden, and Dick Clark was there, and they presented the award for Lou Albano, and Cyndi Lauper was there as well. Lou Albano was still a heel, but fans were starting to get behind Captain Lou because he was in the music video. And then when Roddy Piper smashed the award over Lou Albano's head, you know, all Roddy Piper had to do was just with his leg shove Cyndi Lauper out of the way. It's all he had to do, and that was it. The award to settle the score. And it is insane. The coverage for the war that settled the score, the one thing I always remember from that was all of the rock stars, from Tina Turner to fucking to Ozzy Osbourne, even back then, to others, are all talking about the Rock and Wrestling Connection on MTV. It was big. It was big. You would think in this day and age, you would have thought that wrestling fans poo-pooed on, David Wolf. I know it was David something. David Wolf. Never liked that guy. I always thought he wanted to be like a character in wrestling. I never ever liked that guy. But Cyndi Lauper, she was great. She was great, and that's why for so many years we've been saying, she should have been in the WWE Hall of Fame 15 years ago. Sure, the WWE Hall of Fame may not be that big of a deal to some, but just the acknowledgement that WWE acknowledged her. She was a very big part of WWF in the middle 80s. So we liked her. We liked her very much. Kevin Milwaukee is asking me, has Hawk ever feuded with Animal? The closest that I could remember was how they were not getting along when Hawk was doing the drunk storyline in the WWF. Outside of that, I don't recall them ever brawling. And you know why I know that? Because at some point in the last 40 years, somebody would have sent me a video and said, look, check this out. Hawk and Animal are brawling each other. I don't think so. The closest we got to it was when they put Droz, right around the time where Droz was going to be part of the Legion of Doom and Hawk was doing the drunk stuff. That's the closest we got to it, but it never turned into anything further. Hawk going to Japan on his own is just a part of life and business. They were a tag team, but they had their own families to worry about, their own livelihoods. Just like Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. Tully Blanchard fucked up in the WWF. Arn Anderson is like, why am I going to get screwed over it? Everybody has their own separate lives at the end of the day. Jeff, early Hall of Fame predictions, Bray Wyatt. Absolutely Bray Wyatt. It's not even a question. Bray Wyatt will be in there. I think you probably should consider Sid Vicious. It's a shame what happened to him. And I am so happy with the amount of love that was given to Sid Vicious, because for 20 years, more than 20 years, Sid Vicious was mocked because of, some of his promos in WCW, and, breaking the leg was just awful at the time. But, I still think of when Sid Vicious was in ECW for a little while. That guy was so over, and that guy, all he had to do was just one-sided offense and just power moves, and the crowd was fucking going nuts over it. I'd like to see Sid go in. D'Lo Brown, Gruss is saying way too early for D'Lo Brown. Not needed at this point. Nothing against D'Lo. D'Lo was always a supporter of what we did. I still have the podcast. So D'Lo's like, yeah, we all listen to your shows in Japan. All the American wrestlers in Japan all tuned into the Minority Report and the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. Still got it. I don't know if any of them still tune in. I don't ever see any PayPal gifts come in. Hey, DT and Kev, you've been entertaining us for 20 years. Here's a little something. Go out and buy a car. No, I'm only kidding. Just tuning in is the ultimate. You guys have no idea how awesome it feels when someone that you enjoy and look up to, whether high profile or not, does the reverse. I've brought up people very recently. I don't want to mention the names now, but there's some, wrestlers and those who are Hall of Famers that weren't even wrestlers who would send Kevin I a DM over the last 6 months and be like, wow, checked out your show. Glad you two guys are back together. Love what you do. And Kevin and I responded like, what are you talking about? We freaking loved what you used to do. I mean, thank you. Don't thank us. It's pretty humbling. It's pretty humbling to see people. In fact, here's a true fact. Some of you may remember this. Some of you may not. One of our early catchphrases was, we don't talk. We talk to the wrestlers, or we talk to the wrestlers, or it was something about talking to them, not talking at them. I mean, I know we use that towards, everybody, we don't talk to you. We don't talk at you. We talk to you. It's a big difference. Almost everybody out there in the podcast world talks at you. They'll say the same thing whether you're tuning in or not. We talk to you. But I think it was a show for the wrestlers, something like that. But it was pretty cool. All right. What time we got here? We got about 15 minutes. So let's keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. 316 MMA. What I think about the booking of Liv and Dom and Rhea. Thinks Rhea is getting strong. He thinks Rhea gets strong a lot. Liv and Dom don't get enough offense at the time. And do I think Liv should hold on to the title up until WrestleMania? I threw out this curveball last week that maybe Liv Morgan should cash in against, Tiffany Stratton should cash in against Liv Morgan. Now, people are saying, after SmackDown especially, I could see Tiffany cash in and Liv Morgan. Yeah, we said that 2 weeks ago. No, I don't think Liv Morgan should keep it all the way to WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley is still insanely over. The problem is more and more fans are finding out, realizing the last time Rhea Ripley wrestled on Raw was January 1st, 2024. I know she was injured for a little while, but why is she not wrestling on Raw right now? Why don't she wrestle like a Sonya Deville? Or let her wrestle a Zoe Stark? Or let her wrestle somebody? She hasn't had a Raw match since January 1. And I think fans, not right now, but fans will start getting a little annoyed at the smoke and mirrors. And it's unfair to Rhea Ripley because Rhea Ripley is talented as fuck. Rhea Ripley is close to their number one woman there. But they have to utilize her a little bit better. Liv and Dom, fans want to see them get their ass kicked. Liv is the champion. So you can't say that she's not getting offense. She's still winning matches. She's still got her belt. That's what a chicken shit heel does. Chicken shit heels many times will get their ass kicked, more times than not, and find some way to sneak out a victory. Opportunists. So they're doing their role very, very well. Very, very well. I really can't criticize either one of them right now. So, let's see. Mighty Mighty. What's up, Mighty Mighty? Thank you for the 2-spot. What's my all-star Yankee roster? Oh, God. You're asking the wrong person because I have been predominantly a Mets fan since 82. I have gaps with the Yankees that would be a little bit too, I would leave people out. But if you're asking me, roughly, first base, Don Mattingly. Second base, who would I put at second base? Second base, we'll come back to that. Shortstop would be Derek Jeter, number 2. Third base would be A-Rod. Catcher would be Thurman Munson. Although I have a warm spot in my heart for Jim Leyris, that fuck up. I would probably put Thurman Munson behind the plate because he was clutch. Right field would be Reggie. Center field would be Aaron Judge. Left field would be Ricky Henderson or Dave Winfield. And DH, you could put anybody you want. So, what's the score of the Met game right now? I see T. Kimmel says the Dodgers jumped on them early. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I think the Mets either are going to lose this bad, not bad, but lose it significantly, or they're going to win significantly. I don't think there's big comebacks. I'm talking about what I watched. If we're going to talk about the entire history of the Yankees, then you got Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Babe Ruth, and you could go on and on and on. Yeah, we're talking about what I saw in my lifetime. All right, they're up 3-0. Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of game left. But I'm a little, I have this bad vibes about the Mets because I remember 88. I remember 88. I think Kevin and I said it Monday when we were talking about the Dodgers. I said in 88, the Mets were like 10-1 against the Dodgers in the regular season. And they ended up losing to the Dodgers in the NLCS. The NLCS. So, yeah, that concerns me. So, Maggie's asking, what do I think about the rumors of Roman winning the Rumble? I could see it. The problem is we don't know the WrestleMania matches yet. If Cody is going to wrestle a three-way, you have Roman win the Rumble, Rock gets in there somehow. Yeah, I could see it. I'd rather see Roman win the Rumble than win the Elimination Chamber. I think Roman Reigns is better suited for the Royal Rumble because he could come in at number 28 and, not have to work that long to get the victory. Yeah, I could see it, but I think it's a little too early because we got to see what happens at Survivor Series. We got to see if Rock turns full-blown heel, against Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns ain't turning heel again before WrestleMania, although they may tease friction with him and Cody Rhodes. We got to wait. I would wait until after Survivor Series and get a grasp as far as who's with who. Then we got to see what they do with Randy Orton. I still think Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes would be a great match. But the way they're going to hype up WrestleMania 41, I don't think Cody Rhodes, this is nothing against Randy Orton. I don't think Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton is a strong enough match for WrestleMania 41 based on how they're hyping it up. Like, they want these matches to be over the top, unfucking believable, almost like fantasy. Cody and Randy Orton would be great, but I don't know if that's going to be strong enough for TKO's wanting of WrestleMania 41. So, I said this earlier on the Weekend Report. Would not surprise me if Randy Orton and Kevin Owens fight at 41. If they could somehow drag it out that long, which I don't think they can. All right. Jeff is asking, why were people upset when Triple H was handed the World Championship in 2002? I've told this story so many times over the years. I'm sorry for repeating something, but I was on the Jersey Turnpike with this guy Slash on our way to Philadelphia to hand the TV station XPW's show so they could play it in Philly and Jersey the next day for everybody. This was in 2002. And we're on the Jersey Turnpike. And at that time, we had flip phones. And I remember I was driving my silver Pontiac Sunfire. And Slash is in the passenger seat. And his phone rings. And I think it was like either 8:30 or 9:30 at night. But this phone rings. And he's like, no. And I thought somebody died. I'm like, what happened? Somebody died? He's like, no. He's like, they brought back the World Heavyweight Championship. Bischoff handed it to Triple H. And I remember in the car, I was like, fuck. The reason why we hated it so much was because at that time, I had coined the phrase the Triple H show. And I know a lot of other people as well. Triple H was he was all over WWE television at the time. And he would open the show. You come back from commercial, you see a replay of what we just saw. Then right before the hour, the top of the hour, there'd be another segment. Then there'd be another one after it. Then it would be one at the very end of the show. Then it would be one. It was just like Triple H was just we were suffocated with Triple H. And I've always brought this up, and I still have the photo somewhere, but somebody beautifully in 2003, I think it was, or 2004, did a artwork, and it was a graveyard. And all it had was tombstones, and it was everybody that Triple H buried over the last couple of years, from Mick Foley to others. And at that time, it felt so right because Triple H was we were suffocated with Triple H on our TV. So when Bischoff handed him the title, it was like, oh, we're going to get even more of this asshole. It wasn't anything personal against Triple H, but we hated it. We hated it. It was just we couldn't stand it, especially when he thought he was Harley Race at one time and he had those really long sideburns and had that big that's the Triple H that I just wanted to just hit him with my salami. Did not like him. Shout out to James Vines. What's going on, James? All right. We're going to wrap this up in about 7 minutes. Definitely want to finish this a little early tonight. Don't forget, tomorrow night, Kevin and I will be live at 10:15 p.m. for the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. We'll get into Raw. We got some news to get into. And we're going to have a field day about that Rock fake news stuff. There's a few other things that we're going to have some discussions on also, but that is just one of the most awful things that, I think it's one of the worst cases of fake news bullshit that I've seen in years. And the follow-up is even worse because the follow-up is just like, well, maybe plans changed in the last 48 hours. We're in October. Why would plans change in October, in 24 to 48 hours after you reported something wrong? It's just, people aren't that stupid. But it's dangerous because you get 1,000 news sites that repost it as news. Again, for the channel members earlier, I showed some of the clips. Breaking news, The Rock will not be at WrestleMania 41. Breaking news, The Rock off WrestleMania 41 due to schedule. Breaking news. And if anybody goes back and looks at those screenshots of wrestling news sites, what do they all have in common? Not one of them put Wrestling Observer on their banner. They're reporting it as if they got a scoop. And then, trust me, once they realized that it was bullshit, they couldn't wait to say, oh, it was Observer that broke the news. Rams fans, my thoughts on the Young Bucks wearing paisley, pumps, and pearl necklaces last night. Anything to get themselves over as douchebag heels. I want to see what they do with this championship belt. Do they put it in a bag? They send it to Shane McMahon, and Shane McMahon says, I'm going to melt it. I'm going to make a WWE ring out of it, or I'm going to make a charm out of it. Or does Jon Moxley give the belt to the Elite? We bring it back to the Elite, the World Championship. I mean, we don't want an Andre the Giant, Ted DiBiase moment. I give the belt to Ted DiBiase. I don't think anything like that. Moxley will defend the title. Moxley will remain champion. Moxley will not be stripped of that belt. Moxley is not going to hand that belt over to someone else. But figuratively, Moxley is working for a bigger cause. And the bigger cause wanted Bryan Danielson out of the picture. Will it be Shane McMahon? I don't know. But the Young Bucks are just doing what they can to get themselves over, hated as chicken shit prima donna heels that, just do what they do. I mean, the thing with me and the Young Bucks is I have indifference for them. I'm not interested in seeing them work. It's nothing personal. I don't even want to see them get their ass kicked. I'm just at the point now where I'm like, I'm not interested. I've seen too many Young Bucks matches that when I focus only on the Young Bucks and they're literally like bending down and like taking a bunch of steps over to make sure they're in position to get beat up. It's too obvious sometimes. And blame it on the camera work, blame it on what you want. But the Young Bucks right now, this Elite storyline really never went anywhere with Tony Khan. So I don't know. I really didn't care. I mean, I saw the highlights and I saw that how they beat Private Party, but to me, it's like, if you really want to troll people, wear a WWE shirt. Wear something. Wear a Vince shirt. Seriously, wear a Vince shirt. What's Vince going to do? Sue you? Vince is going to go on Twitter? Take that shirt off, damn it. It's like when New Jack used to wear O.J. Simpson shirts in 1995. I mean, come on. You really want to get nuclear heat. Go there. I would do it. I would do it. Don Stoney loves the idea of AEW going to college campuses. You know, isn't that funny that we just had that discussion a week ago? This has been like 3 weeks in a row that Kevin and I have come up with ideas about AEW, and suddenly these other shows like, hey, I have an idea. I mean, we've talked about it for years, but we just had that discussion a week or two ago comparing it to WCW and Nitro. Go to college campuses. That is your demo that you could appeal right now. You have a little bit of extra blood. You got a little bit of extra vulgarity. You got some women that are willing, you know, that the promotion's allowing them to kiss each other on TV. You have a little bit of sexual overtones. You're using crazy weapons. That's right up college campuses' alley. It's perfect. Perfect. All right, let's take 3 more questions and we'll get out of here. What's up, Don Stoney? Oh, by the way, I posted it at the very beginning of the show tonight. Shout out to Ronnie C., who won the Bad Blood Predictions contest. He, I think it was Xander Elion, who scored the same number of points as Ronnie, but Ronnie won the tiebreaker. So, Ronnie, I know you usually super chat me early because you work security, but if you're hearing this, definitely send me a DM, whether on Patreon or YouTube or Twitter, because he's a Patreon also. This is what we did on YouTube. So Ronnie C won the predictions contest. So congrats to Ronnie. And also congrats to Brian Gabb, who won the Patreon side of the contest. Brian, if you're hearing this, I'll take care of you on Monday. So I just wanted to make both winners announced official, and then we'll hook you up. So Rick says, AEW run a show in smaller venues, maybe do something like NXT with 2 big guys. You know what's great? Did you all see the promo that Randy Orton cut after NXT when he was in the back and he ran into Sexy Red? I'm just a sexy red. I like to give head. Give head. I'm just a sexy red. Did you hear Randy Orton? He kept talking about how the building was sold out. We had a sold-out crowd tonight. We sold out. The factory was sold out. It sold out. The factory sold out. Guess what the attendance was, everyone? 3,500 fans. Randy Orton made a big deal. Oh, it was really cool. The factory sold out. The factory, 3,500 fans. I'd rather see 3,000 fans sold out in a 3,000-seat building. And unfortunately, you may have 100 or 200 fans outside. Sorry, can't let you in. Sold out. Of course, you don't want to ever do that, but I'd rather have a building, 3,000 fans, sold out in a 3,000-seat arena than have 3,000 fans in a 15,000-seat arena. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. I went to a funeral yesterday, for real. I went to a funeral service. A friend of mine's brother died in Italy on September 11th of cancer. And they did the funeral services yesterday here in America because most of his relatives are in America. And they were going to originally do it in a bigger church, and they decided to do it in a church that's smaller by me. And about 70 people showed up, and the church is tiny. Went in there, it looked like it was sold out. I mean, the place was stacked. Then I started looking at the rows and counting. I was like, there's only 70 people here, 75 people. But the visual, the perception of it was, wow, huge place. Even my wedding reception, we had about maybe 160 people, 150 people, and the place looked packed because it was tiny. It was small. It fit like 170 people. We had 150 people in there. But originally, we were going to book a room that sat 300. It would have looked like 2 o'clock in the morning in a nightclub. But there's only a couple of people hanging around sitting in a bar, and they're usually all just the blimps that couldn't pick up for the night. Trust me, I was there back in the 90s. So the visual of being sold out, it's great, man. It's great. There's nothing embarrassing about it. So we'll see. Jeff wants me to tell a story about the Jinder Mahal seeing a Don Tony sign. Yeah, very quickly. I I used to use this phrase, Jinder my balls, because how it all started was there was something about Jinder Mahal we were talking about on one of the shows. And at the time, I wasn't very fond of Jinder Mahal. It might have been right around the time that he was feuding with the Punjabi prison bullshit. And I remember we were talking about Jinder, or somebody brought up Jinder. I think it was somebody in our 123 chat room at the time. And somebody was like, well, what about Jinder and this? I'm like, Jinder my balls, man. I don't want to fucking talk about Jinder. Jinder my balls. Like, he did. No. And then it just caught on. And it was just Jinder my balls. Jinder my balls. So WWE had a house show, I don't know, maybe like 5-6 years ago. And somebody had a sign, Jinder my balls. And it was sitting ringside, and Jinder Mahal walks by, and he looks at the sign. And he's like, oh, Jinder my balls. He's saying it to Jinder Mahal. And he had a funny look on his face, and he was going to sign the sign for the fan. And he's like, oh, Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. And Jinder Mahal is like, nodding his head. Like, now this is what I was told. For all I know, the guy could have been full of shit. But I did see the fan. I did see the Jinder Mahal sign, the Jinder my balls sign. And we've posted it before. So Jinder Mahal apparently knew. So, but I don't criticize him anymore. I mean, for a couple of years, I didn't criticize him. I have no issues with Jinder Mahal anymore. None. All right, one more question. Well, two more. What about Leo Rush's retirement? He's back. He signed with AEW. He's a little bit older. He's a little bit more mature. He's got talent. He's probably going to be in Ring of Honor more than anything else. You know what I mean? Like, so what? So what? Let him enjoy himself. We'll see how long he lasts. That's it. I don't think it's a big deal. All right, let's wrap up with Douche that says, do I think most wrestling fans are being ignored by WWE and AEW? WWE doing too many stories and few matches, with 5-match premium live events becoming the standard. Then AEW has 4-match pre-shows with no breaks. No, WWE and AEW do listen to wrestling fans. The thing is that AEW's fan base is, let me go to a giant buffet where I have 35 different options to enjoy my meal. With WWE, they have realized that we don't need to have 4-hour pay-per-views anymore. We don't need to have 50 wrestlers travel to a premium live event anymore. We could have the best of the best and even rotate. One premium live event, Bailey is on it. And the following premium live event, you may see Naomi on it. Another premium live event, you'll see Bianca Belair and Jade on it. Look at how many premium live events Gunther missed in 2024. WWE realized that less is more sometimes. Why blow through all these pay-per-view quality matches where you could kind of stretch it out? That's why they're going to be doing 2-event nights. Trust me, when they do SummerSlam 2 nights, each night is only going to be 6 matches, maybe 7 if you're lucky, but probably 6. And what you're going to realize is, holy shit, WWE had less matches in 2 nights than AEW had in 1. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. I brought this up last week. When I used to work for USA Pro Wrestling, those events were 5 hours long, sometimes longer. They would start at 6 o'clock at night sometimes and end at midnight, or 7 o'clock at night and end at 1 a.m. We would walk outside wanting Kentucky Fried Chicken and like, fuck, it's already closed. Or McDonald's, it's already closed. The fuck? Not everything had a drive-through back then. Frank Goodman, if you look at early shoot interviews of a lot of local wrestlers that, made it big, that came from the Northeast, go check them out. The ones that did shoot interviews in the early to mid 2000s or even the late 2000s. Frank Goodman would always be brought up, be like, oh God, those shows. I have to pack a sleeping bag when I go to those shows. I got to stay there 7 hours. Because Frank thought, hey, let me give something for everyone. And he would have 15 match cards. So that's AEW's mantra. AEW's mantra is, let's give everybody so much that, yeah, it's an event and it's draining, but you can't deny you didn't get your money's worth. It's just the way it is. They're not going to respond to any individual person online. You may see some wrestlers respond, and they'll usually respond to bigger names out there. I mean, look at Dax of FTR. He keeps calling out JD from New York. JD from New York, deep down inside, and you could tell JD this, deep down inside, JD from New York is smiling from ear to ear. He knows that the reason why Dax is so upset at JD is because JD has an insanely big following online. And he doesn't like that JD's got this big following and JD is criticizing AEW. Notice Dax don't call out the people with 10 followers or 20 viewers. Some other people do that. We've talked about it over the last 15 years. You see wrestlers that for some reason will call out random people on social media, and then you look and they got 3 followers. Why are you wasting your time with a troll with 3 followers? Because you realize that you don't have to worry about an army of people like ganging up on you. With Dax, he says that to JD. A bunch of JD's followers will go after Dax, and Dax will go block, 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 block. So most promotions do not listen to respond to fans individually. But believe me when I tell you, WWE just had a house show in Wales, UK, last night. Look at the card. DIY and Randy Orton versus the Bloodline. Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. Bayley versus Nia Jax. Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton. You look at the card and you see how much those tickets were. You're like, oh my God. People paid that kind of money for that card. There's nothing wrong with the card, but it looks like a SmackDown or a Raw episode. WWE realized they can make that money. Less is more sometimes. Less is more. And the bigger names are the ones only making the cards. So when you see people calling out black and white and this and that, you got to understand, there's a far few matches on the cards now. You only have 5 matches. You're cutting down the chances. Listen, you look at AEW's card. How many single black wrestlers were on the card? Yes, for Wrestle Dream. How many? Chat room. Before we go, how many black wrestlers were on the card, singles, not tag team, singles? So when people are calling out WWE for not having a black wrestler on the card that had 5 matches, how many matches on AEW Wrestle Dream had a singles wrestler who was black? I'm waiting. Who? Seriously. I mean, when you start thinking, this is why I think it's a stupid talking point to make, because I don't think it's being done deliberately at all. I don't blame anybody who's black who's frustrated by it because they think that there's a bigger issue because of the history and the track record of some people. The arguments are real. The arguments are valid. But when you start thinking like, oh, you know what, maybe it's not malicious. All right. Anybody come up with a singles wrestler? Anybody? I mean, I know the answer, but I'm curious. All of you that watched Wrestle Dream yesterday, can you tell me who? Tell me who of 14 matches or 13 matches. Tell me who was a singles black star that was on that card yesterday. Wrestling. Who? Tell me. I'm still waiting for somebody to write something. Swerve and Shelton did not have a match. Who? Swerve did not wrestle. Who? That's why I'm saying, sometimes you gotta, see, just look it up. I'm not accusing AEW of anything. I'm just saying, like, when you pull back on it, especially with WWE, and there's only 5 matches, there's probably a lot of nationalities that didn't make that card. I don't think it's done intentionally. So Yeah, Mercedes wasn't even on the card. Did Mercedes wrestle? No. Mercedes didn't wrestle. Yeah, Willow. Well, we're talking about on the men's side. But you could use Willow. But on the men's side. Because remember, we've had, singles women wrestle on cards. It's an argument that I think is a little bit unfair to all the promotions out there. So, okay, everybody, I'm going to jet. So I hope everyone has a good rest of your Sunday evening. Don't forget, Monday night after Raw, Kevin and I will be live in our Discord. It is dtkcdiscord.com with the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. We have a decent number of topics that we're going to get into. It's going to be a fun show. And hey, we're going to start at 10:15, so it's an hour earlier, an hour to be a little bit more invigorated, and it gives us a little wiggle time as far as how long we go. So it's going to be a fun show. I want to thank you, as always, for your support. Much love. Don't forget, 2 weeks from today, Kev will be back here. Kev and I will be live together on YouTube for a Wrestling Meets Wrestling Meets Halloween edition of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. So 2 weeks from today, Sunday night, 27th of October, Kev will join me here. And I hope everyone stops by, hang out for a little bit, say hi, or just lurk. So if you're not a subscriber yet, that would be awesome. If you take a moment to subscribe, helps us. Be surprised. Every little thing counts. I've been trying to get Kev, like if we hit 50,000 subscribers, maybe Kev will come on here and do a regular show weekly. That's still a long ways away, but, if you could subscribe, that'd be cool. We have the channel memberships if anybody's interested. Patreon is always there. Now, somebody corrected me and said there's over 8 years of Patreon shows that are there. So I have to update all the links because I do remember we started in 2016. That Patreon started in 2016, and there's 8 years worth of shows that never were available, online outside of Patreon. So the whole library is there, and that's it. So, and yes, buy the shirt. Guys, thank you as always for the support. I am out of here. I will catch you all again Monday night after Raw, and see you all again. Be well. Much love.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.